Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the mind of an absolute powerhouse from the 13th century, Qutb al-Din al-Shirazi. We're talking about a Persian polymath whose insatiable curiosity literally revolutionized how humanity understood medicine, the stars, and even the basic mechanics of light itself. As we get into this, you're going to see the ultimate example of a mind that just flat out refused to be boxed into a single discipline.
So think about this for a second. What actually drives a 14-year-old doctor to redefine the cosmos? I mean, it sounds like the setup for a movie, but this is the real-life starting point for Shirazi. Most 14-year-olds are just trying to navigate growing up, right? But Shirazi, he was already practicing medicine and performing eye surgeries. Yet his mind was looking up, past the hospital walls, toward the stars. How did he even get there? And why walk away from such a prestigious, guaranteed medical career?
Well, the answer is right there in his own words. He wrote, "This is because my soul was not satisfied, and rather it drove me to exert my utmost and to attain the highest level of achievement. That restless soul, that is the absolute core motif of his life." He wasn't chasing fame or just trying to hold on to a comfortable job. He had this profound, almost spiritual itch to understand how reality actually worked, from the human body all the way out to the farthest stars. That restlessness is the engine driving every single breakthrough we're going to talk about today.
And just look at how that energy maps out his timeline. He was born in 1236 in Kazarun, deeply rooted in a family tradition of Sufi mysticism and medicine. Fast forward to 1250, and boom, he's a practicing physician in Shiraz. But that restless soul kicks in, and by 1262, he's charting the heavens as an astronomer at the famous Maragheh Observatory. Finally, near the end of his life in 1306, he drops the Pearly Crown, which is this massive encyclopedia synthesizing basically everything he'd learned.
Section 1. The Teenage Physician, Mastering Medicine in Shiraz.
So Shirazi's dad was basically considered the Galen and Hippocrates of his age, a massive, legendary figure in medicine who also practiced Sufism. Tragically, he passed away when Shirazi was only 14. But because this kid was such a prodigy, he directly inherited his father's post as the resident ophthalmologist at the Mazafari Hospital. Doing eye surgery at 14 is wild enough, but he also completely mastered Avicenna's canon of medicine, which was incredibly dense. Yet, he kept finding these obscurities in the text that local teachers just couldn't explain. So, what does he do? He leaves his secure job. He literally hits the road, traveling across Khorasan, Iraq, and Anatolia to find masters who could unlock these secrets for him. He conquered human medicine, but his restless soul was already demanding that he understand the macrocosm.
Section 2. Reimagining the Heavens, the City of Knowledge. To scratch that cosmic itch, he heads to what he called the City of Knowledge, the legendary Maragheh Observatory. He gets there around 1260 to 1262 and teams up with the master astronomer Nasr al-Din Tutusi, who is compiling the Ilkhani astronomical tables for the Mongol rulers. And a massive paradigm shift was happening here. For centuries, everybody relied on the Ptolemaic models, but as their observations got better, they realized those old mathematical formulations had structural inconsistencies. They didn't actually match the sky. But instead of just throwing it all out, the Maragheh astronomers utilized new mathematical linkages to incrementally correct those flaws. They viewed science as this ongoing, collaborative process, impartially seeking the truth without pretending they had the final absolute answer.
And Shirazi's output during his time studying the heavens was just phenomenal. Between 1281 and 1285 alone, he wrote 3 massive works on Hayya, which is the configuration of the orbs, in both Arabic and Persian. The big ones were the limit of accomplishment concerning knowledge of the heavens and the royal present. He was literally compiling all the cutting-edge math of his mentors into one comprehensive toolkit for understanding planetary motion.
Now, what is absolutely crucial to take away from this is the lasting impact. Shirazi was replacing those ancient Ptolemaic flaws with sophisticated linkages of vectors. He actually devised brand new non-Ptolemaic models for every single planet, except Mercury, which he admittedly struggled with. But the real kicker here is that these specific mathematical models, these linked vectors from the Maragheh school, eventually traveled west and directly influenced Renaissance astronomers like Copernicus.
Section 3. Decoding the Rainbow, Unlocking the Mechanics of Light.
Okay, so Shirazi wasn't just obsessed with where the stars were, he wanted to know how we actually see them in the first place. His work in optics was just as groundbreaking as his astronomy. To put it in perspective, the ancient Euclidean view basically thought human eyes emitted light, like little flashlights illuminating a dark room. But the Islamic scientific breakthrough, kicked off by Ibn al-Haytham and then heavily expanded by Shirazi, proved the exact opposite. Light exists externally. It bounces off objects and then travels into our eyes.
It totally flipped how humanity understood vision.
Which brings us to a deceptively simple question, one that had puzzled humanity for thousands of years. How does a rainbow actually form? Before Shirazi, theories were mostly just vague guesses about mixing light and darkness together. But Shirazi applied rigorous physics and geometry to it. Seriously, try to explain how a rainbow forms right now without looking it up. It's tough.
Well, Shirazi actually nailed the very first correct explanation in human history. He laid out this highly elegant step-by-step model. Step 1, light enters the transparent raindrop. Step 2, that light is refracted, or bent, twice as it passes through the water. Step 3, it is reflected once against the dark backdrop inside the drop. He figured out that this exact sequence of refraction and reflection in a dense medium is what separates light into those primary colors. It was a total masterpiece of optical physics, which was later refined even more mathematically by a student.
Section 4. The Pearl of Wisdom, the Grand Synthesis.
So we've got medicine, we've got astronomy, and we've got the physical mechanics of light. Now we enter his final chapter, bridging the physical and the metaphysical. Back then, intellectual life was pretty fractured. You had peripatetic philosophy, which was all about Aristotelian logic. You had illuminationist theosophy, rooted in Suhrawardi's philosophy of light. There was Kalam, or Islamic dialectical theology, and Sufism, which is Gnostic mysticism. Most thinkers stayed in their lane. Not Shirazi. He unified all of them into a monumental Persian encyclopedia called the Pearly Crown. He wove logic, physics, math, and profound spiritual mysticism into one cohesive worldview.
And that is exactly why he earned the highest title in the Islamic intellectual tradition, a hakim. A hakim is a wise man or sage who masters many different disciplines, seeking ultimate knowledge of both physical and metaphysical realities. For Shirazi, doing the math wasn't just about crunching numbers. He genuinely believed that understanding the geometry of the heavens disciplines your soul and brought you closer to the divine.
But we really can't forget the human side of this guy. His restless soul found joy absolutely everywhere. Beyond the heavy sciences, he had a wicked sense of humor and was famous for his generosity. He was a master chess player. He was an incredibly talented musician who played the rabab, which, fun fact, was actually Rumi's favorite stringed instrument. He just lived life to the absolute fullest, as a devoted teacher right up until his death in 1311.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to chew on. How might our heavily specialized modern world actually benefit from Shirazi's borderless polymathic approach? Today, we tend to lock physics in one room, medicine in another, and philosophy down the hall. But Qutb al-Din al-Shirazi proved that when you refuse to recognize those borders, the result isn't chaos. It's a breathtaking, unified understanding of the universe, from the inside of your eye to the colors of a rainbow all the way up to the stars. Thanks so much for exploring the mind of this incredible hakim with me.